Day one, last day, I think it's actually it'll take us 3 days to get through. So today, we're going to finish off all the questions that don't have word problems attached to it. And then I'm having you do those kind of questions. Questions without word problems. So if you look at your assignment book when we get it, it'll say assignment 1A. Then if there's time, I don't know if there will be, but if there's time at the end of the class, we'll do some of the word problem kind of questions. All right? I doubt there'll be time for that. So the next day we'll do a quiz and we'll do the word problems. All right, so let's talk about last day. We started talking about solving equations. Do you need it?
Yeah. Were we given this last day?
2 days ago.
Wait, what did we on?
Maybe Yoda?
Oh, Baby Yoda?
I'm like, I'll do it. If I have it, I'll give it back.
Okay, so we talked about solving equations. I said there's a couple of steps involved. First step, you split the equation at the equal side. You have a left side and you have a right side. You cover up the side that doesn't have the letter. Then you find all the numbers that you want to get rid of. And you got to figure out what is the operation between the number and the letter, or the variable. That's its name. So we have a 3 we want to get rid of. A fraction line means divide. So opposite of dividing is multiplying. So to get rid of this 3, instead of dividing by 3, we have to multiply by 3. And we do that to both sides to get rid of it. So we figure out the number, and what is the operation between the number and the letter, and we just do the opposite. And the notation is very important. So when we are multiplying, usually that goes on the numerator, so you put that on the top. Right? If we're dividing, in this case here, we have divide by 3. We use a fraction line. We go divide by 3 on both sides. If you're adding and subtracting, we're going to stack them with like terms. Right, so we'll do a couple of examples here. Get going. So let's go to the second page where we were. I'm not going to do all of these. I'm going to change some of them around. Let's get rid of this one here. Let's make a new one here. Off to the side, let's just say x minus 7 equals 13. Right? Just go through it. I know you can probably do this one in your head, but I want to go through the syntax. Okay, and the steps. So step 1, we split at the equal sign. So we have an equal sign. We're going to split it there. Right? We cover up the side that doesn't have the letter. So the variable, that's this one side here. We find all the numbers we want to get rid of off that side. So here we have a 7. And we ask ourselves the question, what is the math operation between the variable and the number? So adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing. So what's the math operation between the x and the 7?
Plus 7.
So we have to plus 7. It's subtracting, so the opposite is plus 7. So we go plus 7 right underneath it, and plus 7 on this side. The reason why we do that is negative 7 and plus 7 make a 0. So those cancel each other out. And on the other side, we do the calculation, 13 plus 7, we get 20. There we go. Okay, let's do another one. Let's go to this one here. We split at the equal sign. We're going to work vertically here, remember. Split here. We cover up the side that doesn't have the letter. We find the numbers. So we have the numbers over here. There you go. Okay, what is the math operation between the number and the letter? And we're going to do the opposite. So what's the operation between the 4.5 and x? Add, subtract, multiply, or divide? What is it? Right? Multiply. If you don't see anything, it's always multiply. So opposite of multiplying is dividing. So we set up a fraction line for dividing. So we're going to divide. Instead of multiplying by 4.5, we're going to divide by 4.5. And since that's a negative 4.5, we're going to divide by negative 4.5. We do it to the left side, we do it to the right side, we make it look symmetrical. Okay? The next step, we cancel the number we're trying to get canceled. These numbers divided by each other, they disappear. We're left with the x on the other side. As I said last day, if our numbers are round whole numbers, we leave our answer as a fraction. If we have decimals in our numbers, we grab our calculator and calculate that number out. So since this is all decimals, we calculate these numbers. Go grab on, turn it on, clear that. So I have 1.35 divided by negative 4.5, and we get negative 0.3. That's our answer, negative 0.3. And that's it. Okay, and the questions get more complicated, right? All right, let's do a slightly harder one. Let's go over here. Okay, so now this question has mixed numbers. And in the fractions units and the polynomial unit, every single unit we had, I said if you have mixed numbers, first thing to do is get rid of the mixed numbers and write it as improper. So you got to remember that step. So if I want to get rid of this and write this as an improper number, the 4 stays the same. What do we write on the numerator? How do we convert it? Just remember those steps. How do we, Ellie?
You multiply the 2 by the 4 and then add the 3.
Thank you. So we multiply this and we add this. So 4 times 2 is 8 plus the 3 gives us 11. So now we can put the x off to the side here, but I think students make less mistakes if the x is written with the numerator on top. All right, so we're going to do that, and then go to the other side. We're going to keep the 3 there, and we're going to turn it into an improper fraction. What should the numerator on this one be? 4. 1 times 3 is 3. Add the 1 gives us 4. Okay. So now we split at the equal sign. Right? Cover up the side that doesn't have the letter. Look at the other numbers. There's 2 numbers sitting there. So I'm going to highlight both of these in this case. Okay. So both of these numbers. We did a question like this last day. We can do it in 2 steps. We can get rid of the 11, and we can get rid of the 4 in 2 different steps, or we can try to get rid of it in 1 step. So if it's a coefficient, I suggest trying to get rid of it all in 1 step. So to do that, we are going to set up a fraction. Okay? If we want to get rid of that 4 that's in the denominator, do we need to put a 4 at the bottom here or 4 on the top? Where does the 4 need to go? Sorry? Where would it need to go? I want to get rid of that 4. No? We need to put a 4 on the top. Because remember, a number on the top cancels a number on the bottom, or fraction rules. Right, so that's how we can get rid of that 4. And it's using the same logic to get rid of this 11. Since 11's on the top, we need 11 on the bottom to get rid of it. Okay. So if we multiply by 4 by 11 on the left side, you have to do the same thing to the other side. We need to keep it symmetrical. So if we put this to that side, we have to do the same thing over here. Okay. So we've done our 2 terms on each side. We do our canceling. 4 on top cancels the 4 on bottom. 11 on top cancels 11 on the bottom. We're left with just the x. On the other side, do our multiplication. We multiply the tops together. 4 times 4 gives us our 16. And we have our 3 times 11 gives us our 33. 16 over 33. All this kind of coming together, right? Polynomials, fractions. Right? So we look at our final answer and go, can that be made simpler? Then reducing that, we can do that answer? No. So we just leave it there. Right? And you can always do the cross simplifying at this step. Okay. So one more question. Not this one. I'm hoping you have room. You're still here. If not, right at the bottom. This was, I think, the hardest question. where students have the most difficulty with it at the beginning of this point of the year, which is easy by the end. What made this question different? What made this question difficult? You want to talk about that from last week? A week ago. How's this question different than the other ones? Because the x is the bottom. Remember, we want our answer to be x equals. And we can't do that if the x is on the bottom. So our first step is to move the x to the top. So we split at the equal sign. And we want to get rid of this. And we follow the same rules. Remember, x is just a number that we don't know. So we go, okay, what operation is the x currently doing? Between the x and the number, what operation is there?
Division.
Division. So we do the opposite. Right? So if we want to get rid of this x, we have to do the opposite, which is multiply. And we write that on the top. And if you do that to one side, we have to do that to the other side. Right? So what does this do? It ends up canceling our x's out. X canceled, and we're left with a 2.3. And the other side, the 5.2 and the x just get mushed together because there's no calculation there that can be done. Okay, now the x is on the top. So here's the question. What number are we trying to get rid of next? The 2.3 or the 5.2? What number are we trying to move?
5.2.
Yeah. We're trying to move away any numbers that's on the same side as the x. Cover this up. Right? So this is the 5.2 that we want to get rid of. So what's the operation between the 5.2 and the x? And we just do the opposite. So what's between the 5.2 and the x? Add, subtract, multiply, or divide? Multiply. We do the opposite. We go divide. 5.2. And we have to mirror that on the other side. Okay, then we do our canceling. A number on the top cancels a number on the bottom. Then we do our calculation. 2.3 divided by 5.2. Grab the calculator and go 2.3 divided by 5.2. And we have 0.4423. I'll just write it to two decimal places. And there we go. And that's it.